Hey everybody, Daniela here, and today I want to talk about communication. 99% of life miscommunication, either us not understanding others not understanding us getting our feelings hurt, people hurting our feelings, all of these things. And everything stems from the way we communicate. And so I want to talk about generational communication. We learned to communicate from our parents. They're who taught us to talk. They're who taught us to interact. They taught us the foundation of everything that we know, how we speak, our mannerisms, everything that we do. And oftentimes the communication style that our family has taught us is not healthy. And so we go on and we repeat those same exact habits, those same exact styles with our children, with our spouses, and we continue to have the same problems that our parents had and their parents had all the way back. So I want to talk about really what communication is supposed to be and what it unfortunately is today, and a lot of times when we communicate with others. So I want to start with identifying the difference between assertive and aggressive communication. This is very, very clear, and it's kind of the starting ground with any of my communication classes that I teach, is teaching people to be assertive and not aggressive. So oftentimes we are taught to be polite, to be politically correct, to not stand up for our feelings, that feelings are weakness. And so the only time we actually saw people express emotions was normally using guilt and shame. Those were the two things that we most often experience in our childhood, with parents, with generations, is guilt and shame. I've heard many people, regardless of what religion you come from, Jewish guilt, Catholic guilt, whatever the guilt is, we learn to communicate and get people to comply using guilt. So guilt works short term. It may make that, son pick up the phone more often and call us. However, long term, it builds resentment and it builds animosity between the two people, and actually eventually distances the relationship because the other person is feeling bad about themselves. They're feeling shamed whenever they don't do what the other person wants. And so it actually creates a divide, not connection. Although many people use guilt and shame. The mother that you never call me, what if I died? We have all of these horrible things that people say all the time on a regular basis, right? To guilt and shame someone into doing what they want. So why does this happen? Well, because their parents taught them this and their parents taught this. It isn't that people are horrible, mean people. It is we are repeating patterns of communication that we were taught. And so to unlearn them, we have to understand what real communication is. So I'm going to start with defining assertive. Assertive communication respects my needs while respecting the needs of the other person. So I am going to identify and state my needs while also respecting the needs, emotions, and feelings of the other person. That is assertive communication. I'm going to get my needs met while respecting the needs of the other person. Aggressive communication comes in when I am going to defend my needs at the expense of the other person's emotional well-being or feelings or needs. Okay? So in aggressive communication, there's a winner and there's a loser. In assertive communication, there's two people trying to reach an agreement and solve a problem. So this is the difference. So if I'm being assertive, I'm going to say, my feelings are hurt. That hurts when you state this to me. Please don't say that again. Right? I didn't attack the person. I addressed a behavior that was causing me pain or discomfort. Now, the aggressive way is, you're so mean, you're a jerk, how can you talk to me this way? What kind of a human being are you? This is aggressive. And this is the number one way most of us communicate. When we're upset, we become aggressive. So we begin to, it's me against the world. We go into survival mode and we defend ourselves, often at the expense of the other person that we're having the communication skills with. And the interesting part is 90% of the time, the person on the other side of the communication is not our enemy. They're one of our loved ones. They're our family, our mother, our husband, our sibling. And yet we immediately go into defend me at the expense of you. And so I really, really want everyone to understand the difference between assertive and aggressive. Okay? So when I am being assertive, I stand up for my own rights while not violating the rights of others. Okay, I state this, and I also, part of assertive communication also includes actually acknowledging the other person's emotions. So we're going to talk about that in another video. We're going to talk in detail about listening without defending. So this is very, very important. So we're going to learn to speak without offending and listen without defending. This is the key to real communication. Learning to get our point across while respecting the other person and actually listening to what the other person says. So assertive versus aggressive, right? Assertive, I'm going to respect my rights and my existence as a human being, as well as the rights and existence of the other human being. Aggressive is, I'm going to defend me at the expense of you. I'm going to use name calling. I'm going to use shame. I'm going to use blame. I'm going to use manipulation to get what I want. And this is the most common form of communication that most of us have, unfortunately. We have been taught, from a very, very young age, bad boy, don't do this. Bad girl, don't do this. Good girls do not do that. This is shame. This is blame. And so from a very young age, we are taught this. And so it continues on. And we then use it as our main form of communication. So instead of saying, I feel hurt when you do this, and acknowledging the behavior, instead, we label the person. That is aggressive behavior. You are disrespectful. You are angry. You are a bad child. You are a bad husband. These words are labeling someone's character. They're attacking somebody, and they're not actually solving the problem. So this is what I really would love if people could understand the key to assertive communication. Express my needs while respecting the other person, right? So I'm not going to attack their character. I'm not going to use guilt. I'm not going to shame them. I'm not going to embarrass them, right? Right. And I'm not going to use manipulation to get what I want. I'm going to state my need, and I'm going to respect the other person. And so this is the key to actual communication. So if I say, say me and my husband are having a disagreement, and I come up to him and I say, Moshe, I felt really hurt when you said this. He is going to go, oh, she feels hurt. I didn't say, you hurt me. This is a key difference. I didn't come up and say, Moshe, you're so rude. You hurt my feelings. That was very mean. I cannot believe you said this. Now I'm blaming, I'm attacking, I called him mean. Now he's not listening. He's not listening at all. And he, in his brain, is formulating an aggressive response back to my aggressive response. And now neither of us are hearing each other. No problems are being solved. But when we can take a step back and we can be emotionally vulnerable and honest, because I will tell you, being assertive, it requires a level of vulnerability that often we don't like to have. So with being assertive, we have to step forward and we have to say, I felt hurt. We have to actually talk about the emotion that we felt when the person's action was done. So, I felt unimportant, or I felt unappreciated when you didn't say thank you, or I felt this when you did this. So now we can address a behavior. A behavior is fixable. A person is not. So this is where we want to make sure that when we're expressing our feelings, am I discussing the behavior of the person that I want to change, or am I attacking the actual person? That's the difference between assertive and aggressive. So when we are being assertive, we address a behavior, we acknowledge our own emotions, and express to the person what we would like to happen. This is being assertive. This is expressing ourselves, and it's the opposite of what we were often taught. We were often taught we guilt and we shame people into getting what we want. And guess what? 99% of the time it works. It works short term. But long term, we've now hurt the relationship. The person, the person's self-esteem has now been lowered. Now they're more likely to actually continue doing the same behavior because now they don't believe that they are capable of change. So if someone comes to me and says, Daniela, I'm offended when you discuss things with me in this way. I can change how I discuss things. But when someone says, you're a very ungrateful person, I can't change the fact that this person thinks I'm an ungrateful person. These are two very different things. And so we want to make sure that when we have a disagreement, whether it be with a spouse or a sibling or children, whatever it is that we're discussing this communication skill with, we need to make sure that we're addressing the behavior, that we're not labeling them, we're not calling them names, we're not using blame, So we have, again, assertive, aggressive. So I want to give a couple examples really quickly. I'm trying to think of a couple that we can use. So something very, very common, name calling. You're being a jerk. You're very angry. You're mean. Right? These are things that are name calling. We're calling someone mean. We're calling them a jerk. We're saying they're ungrateful. These are things we don't call people. What we do say is, I feel unappreciated when you don't say thank you, or I feel unappreciated when I work really hard and you don't acknowledge it. These are things that we state. Now, this is emotionally vulnerable because now I'm not just calling the person a name, I'm addressing the impact that it has on me. And I have to be vulnerable and say, I felt afraid, I felt sad, I felt hurt. I'm having to actually acknowledge my own behavior, my own needs, my own emotions. So it's a lot more vulnerable. But what you'll see is the hostility level between these communications will go way, way down. Because if someone comes to me and says, I felt really hurt when you said that. Immediately, I'm going to go to a place of empathy, right? Oh my gosh, I hurt someone. But when someone comes up and calls me a jerk, I'm definitely not going to a place of empathy. I'm going to a place of, it's time to fight. And so this is what we really, really need to shift, whether it's our marriage, whatever communication, our employers, whatever it is, we need to effectively state how we feel and how we what we would like to change without attacking the person. And this is the difference. So we want to talk about assertive ways to communicate. I'm actually going to be starting a private class if anyone's interested. It's going to probably be about 6 weeks of detailed communication skills, of us kind of deprogramming, the way our parents taught us to think, the way our schools taught us to talk, the way our religion taught us to talk, whatever it is that we have created, these unhealthy patterns. We're going to talk about these patterns. We're going to pull them apart. We're going to dissect them. And then we're going to rebuild and practice using healthy communication skills. So we're not going to use guilt anymore. We're not going to blame. We're not going to shame. We're not going to, make the other person feel bad to force them into doing the behavior that we want so that we don't feel the emotion we're feeling. So we're going to take personal responsibility for our feelings. We're going to learn to be assertive, and we're going to learn to communicate our needs in a healthy way without shaming or blaming the other person or attacking their character. This is so key in communication. The second we attack someone else's character, they are no longer listening. It is no longer called communication. It is just a battle. And oftentimes we end up with multiple losers in this battle. People with hurt feelings, things that we can't unsay to our spouses, to our loved ones, to our family. And so being assertive, making sure that everything we come out, so we stop, we say, okay, what am I feeling? This person just did something to me. Say someone came and maybe I cleaned the entire kitchen and they messed it up and left it. What am I feeling, right? Initially, I'm going to say, I'm angry. I'm so angry at you. How dare you? How ungrateful of you to mess up my kitchen, right? But the reality is I need to step a step further than that. That is a secondary emotion. The anger that's coming out is secondary emotion. I'm going to do a specific video about primary and secondary emotions to clarify what those are. So our primary emotion is fear of being unappreciated, fear of being taken advantage of. The fear is what we feel. The anger is what rises up to cause us to go into action. So that is where we make the decision. Am I going to be assertive or am I going to be aggressive? Okay, there is a third option, which is passive aggressive, and I'll discuss that in another video that lends a little bit more towards codependency, and people who have been taught to not stand up for themselves often become passive aggressive, which is a different form of communication. But this video, I really want to focus on assertive versus aggressive behavior. Aggressive behavior attacks the person, it shames, it blames, and it does not respect the feelings and the emotions of the other person. It defends me at the expense of them. Assertive communication defends and shows respect for my own emotions and feelings while also respecting and defending the emotions and the feelings of the other person. So this is where we all want to get to a point of, again, one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard is, speak without offending and listen without defending. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, I'm going to be very, very shortly opening up a assertive communication course for everybody that's would like more information on this and undoing these patterns. I see it in 90% of the clients that I work with, whether it be marriage therapy or individual therapy. Learning to assertively communicate is life-changing. I grew up where I was kind of seen or not heard. I learned not to have an opinion, and it caused so much pain and dysfunction in my life. And so as I learned to assertively stand up for myself and advocate for myself and hear my voice and also respect others in that journey, so many things opened up, and it really taught me how to get my needs met without attacking others, how to get my needs met without being a doormat, all of these things. So it's such a powerful thing to learn to assertively communicate your needs and your wants. I hope this was helpful. Again, Daniela here with High Wellness and Healing. Have a wonderful day. Bye.